And that's pretty much it. Cool.
I should have something for all of that.
I love to hear it. I love when you do it because you like to take the ball. I just bring it up the court, dish to you, and you just handle it. I'm like, good. Love it. I've been told that I like to talk too much. I'm like, actually, I don't like to talk much. I love it when I have guests on that just take the ball. I love it. It makes my job so much easier.
Just deathly afraid of silence, and I'm willing to steamroll any moment of it just so it can sound normal.
All right, let's do this.
Nice.
Okay. All right. Welcome back, world. This is John. This is the Flores and Friends podcast. This is episode 92, part 2. The first part was with my buddy Steven and Anthony. We had a very lively conversation. It was running a little long, so I decided to split this episode into 2 parts. Tonight I am joined by one of my oldest friends, the king of Dallas, Texas. Don't even think about it, Jerry Jones. You have been supplanted. Dalvin Ford, how are you doing tonight, man?
Man, I'm doing great now that I've been coronated the king of Dallas. That's awesome.
I have been to your abode there, and it is a palace.
Thank you, man. You are far too kind.
Yeah, it was in March. I was up for my uncle's retirement from a branch of the military, and he was having a retirement ceremony, and it was in Fort Worth, but I decided to stay in Dallas with you because I didn't want to spend money on a hotel room because I'm just that cheap. But it was also awesome for 2 things. One, I'm not going to talk about on the pod, and the other being, you got me into Ted Lasso, man. We just happened to watch it that one time, and I was like, oh no, I got to get this. This is awesome. Did you ever finish it? Did you ever finish it?
Yes, I did finish it. It was an incredible show, incredible first season. I haven't watched I don't know if the whole season came out or just one episode.
Unfortunately, it is episode to episode. It's week to week. I just watched it. I watched it yesterday morning, and I was literally watching it before we got on. I was rewatching it, and
luckily for me, like I never use the Apple TV app, so like I could probably let it build up before I realize, that I've been missing it.
Is it fair to say, first off, while I was home recently, I was back home in New Orleans, in Baton Rouge for 4th of July. We had a big family reunion, and I successfully converted 3 friends on a Ted Lasso, because I truly believe that if you're listening to me talk about how great the show is, I'm sure you've heard tons of people, the Emmys doled out a bunch of nominations for them. Let me tell you, believe me, I take my personal reputation on this. That show is as good as everybody says it is. Like, everybody blows that show, and I'm telling you, it is deserved. Do you think so?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It's from that, like, positivity comedy that you love when you watch, like, I don't know, like The Good Place, or you watch, like, Parks and Rec kind of a feel. Not, like, the same kind of humor, but the same kind of positivity underlying the show. And, like, the fact that...
Yeah, go ahead.
That Ted doesn't know shit about soccer... that's just so good for the audience because, like, obviously me, who is a huge fan of British soccer, it's an easy sell. But, like, I imagine people who probably aren't so big on, the English Premier League were interested in the show because they explain so much to you as you go along. It's a perfect setup. It's a great show. Like, it's truly great.
Did you have, just off the top of your head, did you have a favorite character?
I mean... now I'm like completely blanking on every character's name. What,
Roy Kent.
Yes, Roy Kent is a favorite. I love a gruff, curmudgeonly character.
Yeah.
I think Ted is kind of fascinating himself.
Yeah.
They do just enough of giving you under the nonstop positivity to let you know that he's a complicated guy who is really just kind of force of willing his way through life. Which, it makes me feel like we're setting up for something, I'm not going to say a lot darker, because I don't think the show would change like that, but, something a lot more interesting. He's a great protagonist.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love pretty much all of it, and I think mine is definitely Danny Rojas. Football is life! That's my favorite.
That's also, like, I saw somebody tweet about how that's like a double meaning. It's not just like, football is life, I'm excited about everything. It's like, hey, man, life is crazy, so is football. Like, anything can happen.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
I don't not to spoil anything. I'm just gonna say Danny Rojas factors very heavily in episode 1, and I think it's really good. Anyway, we could talk for an hour on all of Ted Lasso, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a different sport with its own hilarity and toxic positivity at times. We're here to talk about the NBA. Like I said, if you listen to the first episode, Dalvin and I are going to cover pretty much the same topics and territory that Steven and Anthony and I did. So, yeah, let's just go with it. The NBA season wrapped up this week. The Milwaukee Bucks, just a refresher, defeated the Phoenix Suns in 6 games. But before we get to that, let's talk about the season overall, man. I spoke a lot on the first part. I'll be sure to chime in. Don't y'all worry. But Dalvin, the overall NBA season, it was a short turnaround. It was like 2 months or maybe a little bit more than when the bubble ended and the Lakers were victorious. They had to do a quick turnaround to, get those 72 games in for the TV contracts, and they wanted to give the stars an opportunity to go play in Tokyo, which we'll talk about. We're going to talk about Team USA and the Olympics. So overall, do you think it was worth it? Was it a great season? There was some injuries. Do you think it was worth it? What do you feel about the overall season?
The injuries were definitely, I would say, attributed to them playing on such a short turnaround, right? And based on the financial losses, I hate to be so. The NBA is a business. As much as we love basketball and want to sound religious about it, it's a business, and they had to play because they would have just lost too much money to even fathom, right?
Yeah.
But the season itself, I think, outside of the injuries to big stars, I think it's very encouraging if you want to see a healthy, competitive league. The number 1 seed was the Jazz in the West, and the Suns were the 2nd seed. That's new blood. I'm sure the Lakers will be much stronger with everybody healthy next season, but I don't see any reason for those teams to fall off. The Nets will have another crack at it full healthy. And I think the biggest thing that you kind of saw was for those middle class teams, your Bulls, our Pelicans, who are, always kind of chasing that last playoff spot, but they don't seem like they suck, but they're not right there with the good team. I think this season really showed that there's a path to getting good pretty quickly. Seeing the Hawks make the conference finals after being terrible the season before with just one coaching change. You see the Bucks, not that they were terrible, but they were very, very limited, and they just figured it out, and they were able to move forward. The Suns, they picked up one player, and the Suns were known as Knicks West. It's one of the worst organizations in the NBA.
Yeah.
And now they have a finals appearance to show for it. So I think if you're a team that's kind of, like I said, the Pelicans and Bulls, but you're the Mavs, you're the Blazers, you're the Grizzlies, you're one decent move. The Warriors, I feel like they are waiting for them to come back with Clay coming back next season. They all feel like they're one move away from being pretty elite because there's no one team that just feels overwhelmingly juggernaut unless we see a long stretch of healthy Harden, Durant, Kyrie.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. We're not going to spend too much time on the Bulls because they were not good. We're
same with the Pelicans. I'm not doing it. Doing it. There's other people for that. There's other podcasts for that.
Well, we did talk about it in part 1. I did want to get your feeling on the Pelicans overall, considering the 2 stars and the Lonzo situation and the new coach. But we can get to that in a bit. We can get that in a bit. But I really enjoyed this season. I totally agree. I really hated that. Because it was sad because as you can recall, the 4 teams that were in the conference finals last year, only one of them advanced to out of the first round. And it was disappointing. And that was the Nuggets.
So are you one of the people that feels we missed out because we didn't have the traditional teams at the end? No,
I don't. I found it very refreshing. I think every now and then, I rally against people that say that they want more parity in the league. I was like, no, you don't. You don't want that. You want the juggernauts. You want the heavy hitters. And I know. I think everybody wants a kind of parity that
natural parity, where it's just hey, there's legitimately 17 players in the NBA who are so elite that just having one of them on your team is going to make you close to a playoff team, but that's too many dudes, and what's going to happen? And I think that the NBA is getting close to approaching that point where there's just so much talent that every team is just a better constructed roster away from being decent.
Yeah.
And like now with the play-in tournament being, they're bringing it back next season. I think they'll probably do it again. There's no reason to kind of tank at the end of the season. So your 13 through 14 seeds are not, bums. They're chasing something kind of realistic, and with better players, they can hit it quick. They can get better very quickly. So I don't know. I think the league is just in an incredible place currently, especially, and we don't have to start the Olympic conversation already, but just because, like, you see the international talent.
Yeah.
You look at the people who won the awards this year, like, I think everybody was sworn, right? Jokic MVP. The defensive player of the year was Gobert.
Yeah.
And,
I'm thinking about most improved and sixth man. I can't remember those off the top of my head.
Yeah. I'll Google them at some point. But it's been, do you remember the last American defensive player of the year?
Oh, gosh.
I'm not going to put you on the spot. It's been since 2016, 2017. It was Draymond Green.
The Warriors. Yeah, he was.
It's been incredible. Draymond is still incredible on defense, but it's been all Gobert and Giannis since then. Like, it's so many elite players just coming into the league, and you're looking at this draft class coming. It's just crazy, honestly.
Yeah. I really loved this season. I don't, like I was saying, I don't think people really want parity. I think they would like parity that is advantageous to their particular team. But I loved this season. I think you need one of these seasons every now and then. It didn't necessarily happen in the most ideal circumstances, but it was still exciting nonetheless. I can't say it was exciting as a Bulls fan, but just as a fan of the overall NBA, I think it was fantastic. And I think I don't know if how vigorously he would agree with me, but I think Adam Silver and the brass at the top of the NBA really enjoyed this season as well, because a small market team with a star that signed an extension, a long-term contract with them, won it all, and that's really good for small market teams. But let's talk about your Pelicans. Speaking of not really your Pelicans, but kind of my Pelicans as well. I don't want to make it sound like I don't fuck with them. I do enjoy watching them play when I get the chance.
They're just not your main team, yeah.
Yeah, they're not my main team. We don't have to dwell on this. I know you're not really enthused about what happened last season, how everything shook out. But let me ask you a few questions.
Okay.
We had 1 year of Stan Van Gundy. He's out the door now. How did you feel about Zion's performance and Brandon Ingram's performance? Do you think we should trade Lonzo? Which camp are you in? And what are you excited about Willie Green for?
Okay. Starting with, their performances, I think that Zion and B.I. are incredible, right? I think that Zion specifically, he's living up to the hype, and the hype was absurd. He averaged almost 27 points a game. Damn near, like, he was ridiculous. He's ridiculous. He shoots at a ridiculously high efficiency. He already has a natural feel for the game. Like, we're still watching Giannis airball threes, and everybody talk about ad nauseum how it's great that he's not afraid of these shots. It's great that he's not afraid of these free throws. But, like, to compare a player like Zion, who's going to be trying to get to the paint at the same kind of clip, he's already a much better shooter. Like, he's shown a mid-range jumper that seems pretty consistent. His free throw shooting is fairly consistent. So if he started from a place like that, his offensive numbers could only get scarier if they decide to give him legitimate space. And I think that's what's hurting Brandon Ingram a lot more than Zion, because he's just a force of nature who can move all things. But, B.I. is trying to find contested jumpers in a really clogged up paint. So I think his numbers, they were pretty close to last season, but they were a little bit, I guess not unenthusiastic. What's the word I'm looking for? A little unconvincing.
Underwhelming?
Yeah, there we go. And at the fourth quarters and at the end of late games, because he's getting some tough looks, and I don't know why they were afraid of, maybe giving the ball to Zion in those ways. That stuff that was on Stan, I don't know. But I think that there's just so much good stuff in space. In the Pelicans roster that I'm cautiously optimistic still, because, like, we have Zion on our team. So as far as the Lonzo aspect, it really just depends on the market. If his agent wasn't, international man of mystery, Rich Paul, I feel like there would be a chance that we could maybe get, Lonzo on a team-friendly contract. But, being on Clutch, there's a 0% chance that happens. Plus, Lonzo's got a great skill set, and people will be interested in moving on him. And if he gets past the Pelicans' number, they'll lose him for nothing. But I do think that there's a lot of teams who are interested in Lonzo that Lonzo would be interested in back, that would be willing to sign and trade. That's so at least the Pelicans would lose him for nothing. But as far as if I want him to stay, yes, he's a good player. If he wants to stay on a reasonable number, less than $18 million a year, then that would be awesome. But there's no chance that happens.
Yeah. And Willie Green, how do you feel about he's a former assistant with the Suns. Are you excited about it? I mean, no shade at Van Gundy. I think that he's he is a he won a championship. No,
he did not.
That's right.
Championships. He coached the team that won the championship the season he was coaching, but he still got replaced.
That's right. That's right.
The Heat in 06, and he took the Magic to the finals. Whatever, but I thought he was a good hire. I hate to see it didn't work out. I can understand how having an abrasive manager like that, just as a person who has jobs and managers, I can see how that would be, very frustrating to do your job, especially with a lot of young, talented dudes. I think Willie Green is going to be a hit. I think that coaching is probably the hardest thing for regular people to kind of try to prognosticate. Who knows anything about what makes a good coach?
Yeah.
But as far as what people say about him, all the Suns players are gushing about him. I think he's a young guy. He's got clout within the NBA. He played for a very long time. He was known for being a really scrappy player, and apparently he's very defensive minded. So my hopes would be within that season of Stan berating them about defense nonstop. Yeah, they didn't get a lot of practice time, but I think they kind of got those principles set in. It was a horrible boot camp of a whole season of defense, I would imagine. And now you're going to come in with the requisite practice time and, a gentler voice in Willie Green. And if he can get the Pelicans to play respectable defense, all the pieces are there for their offense to be ridiculous, especially assuming that they're going to trade motherfucking Eric Bledsoe. Goddamn! Oh.
I mentioned this in part one, but I'll ask you. I know how you got guys. He's not putting on a performance like Dalvin. Well, he's one of many Pelicans fans I think that does not like Bledsoe. Anyway.
Oh, come on!
But
what is there to like? It's not even the fact that he's in. As a person who's played basketball for a long time, I really hate to hear people say this player sucks when they're so much better than you. So let me say, within the terms of professional basketball, Eric Bledsoe is awful. He's a 10-year vet who constantly makes very, very simple mistakes. He makes the same mistakes multiple times, which is the one thing you can't do. He's a horrific shooter. He was known for his defense. At the point of attack, his defense was just mid. I mean, he was okay. He wasn't getting blown by, but he didn't do much of a job on guarding any of the main guards that we have to see in the West. You saw De'Aaron Fox routinely cook the Pelicans. The Kings ended up having a better record than us. That's times, I don't know.
Well, nevertheless, let me ask you. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. Please.
I wanted to ask the question. I wanted to know. I've always wondered when this happens, your DeMar DeRozans and now your Eric Bledsoes. How does it feel?
Don't even compare them because DeMar DeRozan is very effective. He just has a game that's kind of ugly to people's eyes. But, there's no reason for a 10-year starting guard, former all-defense team to be as bad as he was. He was a terrible. I don't have his stats in front of me because I don't want to throw up.
But what do you think it feels like when you get traded? The team you got traded from wins the championship the year you leave. Oh crap, that's my bad.
Oh, he knows. He knows that he was the problem. I'm sure when they traded him, he felt oh fuck, they really thought that I was the problem. And then it was you. They couldn't count on your shooting at all, and Drew didn't put up an all-time shooting performance himself.
Absolutely not.
His defense was so unbelievable that it made up for it. And Eric Bledsoe, God bless him, wasn't providing that same level of defense. So, I'm sure he's a professional. He has pride. He's a player who was once known as baby LeBron, mini LeBron, something like that. So the fact that he is known as one of the worst starting guards in the league has got to hurt his pride. But I think that GMs are not as low on him as fans are. They think that he would probably, feel engaged to play for a good team and He's still providing relatively decent defense if you just cut down. I don't know. I think that there's some level of a market for him. As Pelicans have picks out the ass, so they'll probably have to attach a little something to him to get him out of here. But if you just replace him with basically anybody who can shoot, or empower the guys, Nikhil Alexander-Walker and Kira Lewis on the team already, Kyra, excuse me, not Kira. They would be better than Bledsoe was. It's just a truly miserable situation. It's that Steven Adams is not nearly as bad, and he's a really big problem.
Yeah. Unless you want to shout out anyone else, I did want to move on to some other storylines and some other teams in the league.
I didn't talk about Giannis in the finals yet.
Yeah. So let's talk.
Incredible final. Yeah, go. You lead us in.
Yeah, let's talk about some other things. There were a few, specifically the MVP. But before we get to that, Damian Lillard.
Okay.
Now, do you think he'll stay in Portland? Do you think it's fixable and the situation in Portland is fixable? Or if he is traded, where would you like to see him go?
If he's traded, I'd like to see him go to the Pelicans.
Yeah, of course.
But, no, I do think he ends up staying. I don't know, the NBA GMs and owners will be freaking the hell out if it's, 4 years left on their contract. Just all right, I want to be traded now and have to leave. I'm sure they'll do anything they can to avoid that, especially because they have, a decent player to make some moves with, and CJ McCollum, and maybe, you get Ben Simmons, and that moves the needle because they're a terrible defensive team, and, you really can't kind of go forward from there. They have enough shooting, but, I think that I don't know, honestly. Because Dame has put so much of his, professional credibility into being no, I don't run from the grind. I'm that guy. I'm still working. And if he, wants to, I would completely understand if he wants to leave and go to a better situation, or even try to do a Chris Paul this year situation and take a team like the Pelicans to that next level. I can see him wanting to do that, but if he wants to join the Clippers or something, that would also make a ton of sense because you want to chase a championship. Yeah, I can't blame him.
Yeah, I hope he gets out. I'm with you. It is. Would I have gone out on a limb and made that proclamation that I want to be in the grind, that I'm staying in Portland? I think that it's always admirable, but I think you are boxing yourself in because it is a profession. It is a job at the end of the day. That's not your hometown. The fans, their love for you was conditional. And so I think, go ahead.
If you care about that kind of long-term legacy stuff, it hurts you. If you look at how versatile of a player Kevin Garnett was, the fact that people routinely say, and I kind of agree, or I think it's a strong case that Dirk Nowitzki is better than him, that's kind of crazy, but it's because they have the same number of championships. And, Dirk's had a lot more playoff moments and he played for much better teams because, KG was too loyal to Minnesota. Yeah. And he only went to the conference finals one time. And so if you are the type of person that's I want to be known as the best player of my generation or the best point guard of my generation or the best whatever, Dave's already in a particularly tough spot because, what he's known for, the type of player he is, a three-point assassin shooting from deep. He's not even known as the best at that. There's somebody who plays on the same coast as him that gets all the shine. So the fact that he is not only not Steph, but still great, and he doesn't have any championships, I'm sure it's, eating at him if that's the kind of stuff he cares about.
Okay. Well, you mentioned him a little earlier, or you mentioned the team at least. Philadelphia, our boy Ben Simmons. Well, I claim him because technically he did play for the Louisiana State University Tigers.
Yes. Terribly he played, but
do you think... I mean, he's going to get traded. They've already announced that they're working on a trade with somebody. But I feel bad for him. But I also, dude, you're kind of the prisoner. You have the key to your own jail cell. I don't know. What do you think, man? You think it's fixable? Do you think it's a lost cause? What do you think the situation is with Ben Simmons?
You can't say a lost cause because he's just too good at too many basketball-related things to be a bad player, right?
Yeah.
But his offensive game is a very, very weird mix of skills, and everything about him is just kind of a mystery. First of all, people have seen him shoot with his right hand. He writes with his right hand. he's right-handed, but for some reason he shoots left-handed jumpers.
That's so weird.
And when I say shoot left-handed jumpers, I don't mean shoot because he doesn't shoot, right?
Yeah.
There's something in his head. Like, he has the yips. I don't know. I think that moment, with him passing out of the easy dunk in the playoffs this year is super emblematic of all of
Oh,
the
man,
problems.
that was bad.
Because it's so much worse when you look at it, when you see that it's Trae Young is the person that's coming on help defense, who is 6'1", and he's 6'10", and he's not even like a high jumping 6'1", so it's particularly frustrating.
So do you think? I don't want to steal anybody's thunder, but Steven, my friend Steven mentioned that the in part one that Portland, Philly, and Golden State should be on the phone trying to work out a 3-way trade because they all have assets that the other teams need. And would you like to see him traded to Portland and Dame go to Philly? I think you mentioned that when you were talking about Dame earlier.
Yeah, I did kind of gloss over that, though. I just should say that Embiid and Dame would be a ridiculous duo, and if they stayed healthy, would be completely dangerous to see, right? Especially if they built that team right.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of, I'm always rooting for another championship strength team to just appear out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
You never know. Last summer when you heard that Phoenix traded for Chris Paul, you didn't think anything of that, but that made them a championship quality team out of nowhere. You don't know what's going to be that move this summer. There might be one, there might be two. And I think if we go into the season with, more than, because it's usually about 4.
Yeah,
if we
4
went
or
into
5.
the season with 6 or 7 teams that you were like, I could definitely see them winning it, I think that would be great, to be honest.
Well, we're going to talk about, after we're done talking about the finals, we're going to talk about what we think is going to happen in the offseason in this coming season. So, last thing I want to talk about was the MVP. Our Nikola Jokic. Luka got a lot of clout going into the season. Do you think that they made the right choice between Jokic, Embiid, and anyone else? Was there anyone else you thought deserved more shine, or do you think it went to the right guy, or how do you feel about the MVP situation?
I think it absolutely went to the right guy, and I think it's been really weird that so many, and I'm not, obviously, you're just asking questions, but there's been a lot of that in the sports media, like, did they get the MVP right? Is this the worst MVP we're going to have? And, Jokic's numbers were ridiculous.
Yeah, they were.
The only reason that he's, didn't go as far in the playoffs is because their second best player, was out. You can't really expect any, elite team to go anywhere without their number 2. So, he's been incredible. And it just doesn't make sense to me because, if you would have told me that there was a 7-foot white dude that is passing, white chocolate and putting up triple doubles every 3 games, I would have told you that America was tripping over his dick to make him a superstar, and it's really the opposite. They're going out of their way to find anybody else to make a star out of us. It's really, really strange. He's an incredible player. I'm a huge fan. I think that they're also one move away from being really, really scary. I think that they're gonna feel like, Jamal Murray's coming back and we're going to be good, but they're not going to be good enough. And they're counting on Michael Porter Jr. turning into something crazy, which he's very good, but if he never turns into that, I feel like Jokic might be wasting his prime because he's that good.
Yeah. It's hard to say. The question I'm about to ask, it is hard to speculate or project, but it seems like a lot of the expected or really... Yeah, the expected contenders for the MVP, a lot of them got injured. Like your LeBrons, your Hardens, just whatever. Like a bunch of them we talked about it up top. There were a lot of serious injuries this season.
Right.
Jamal Murray, his number 2, like you said. Do you think it would have been a different situation if injuries hadn't been such a factor? Do you think he benefited from just he was the only one healthy that was remaining?
Sure. I really think it helps because as we've seen throughout NBA history, MVP is very much a narrative-based award.
Absolutely.
Those players that were hurt this season were a lot bigger names. The LeBron MVP train was getting very loud before he got hurt, and when the Lakers were basically the number 1 seed for most of their health part of the season. I kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Yeah. Did Jokic benefit from injuries? If that helps.
Right. So if the big names, LeBron, KD, well, I think most of those super team guys would have had a tough time getting it. But there's some momentum for Harden for a second, or Giannis didn't stand a chance just because they wasn't going to give up 3 times in a row. But I think about it like this: like if you look at Jokic's stat line, that's an MVP stat line.
Yep.
It's like if there's a season where everybody gets hurt and a dude that's averaging 21, 8, and 6 wins the MVP, it's gonna feel like, all right, man, that was a weird season. But Jokic damn near put up a triple double, double digit assist numbers as a center. He's just an unbelievably fun player to watch. Like I gladly bestow him his MVP.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to the postseason before we get to the finals. In the postseason, tournament, were there any big surprises for you? Did you think anyone kind of underwhelmed you, or like the Atlanta Hawks? I think surprised everybody. Like I think that everybody expected them to get past the Knicks, but make it to the conference finals. That's a huge thing.
And honestly, if you go back and look at people's picks on that, like most people expected the Knicks to win that series.
Yeah, that's that New York East Coast bias.
True.
I want to say the Atlanta Hawks. I'm really happy for Nate McMillan, and I had to laugh at Indiana because they fired the guy they replaced him with after 1 year. Not that I'm happy anyone. Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say that's one of my favorite things. Well, least favorite things in sport when they fire the coach who was stuck at a certain plateau and he's winning every year, but y'all just can't get over the hump, so you let him go. Like I always feel bad for those guys. What was it? Marty Schottenheimer got fired after going 14-2 with the Chargers.
Yeah,
you got this situation, and like Terry Stotts with the Blazers. It's just like, that's tough. You too good for losing in the first round. They got teams trying to make the playoffs every year, and y'all go every year, and you too good for that. Indiana fucking Pacers, relax. So.
But yeah, I was happy that I'm not happy that the Indiana coach, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'm not happy he got fired, but I am happy for Nate McMillan. I really expect them to do, when we talk about next season, I really expect something.
Nate Bjorkgren.
Yes.
Sorry, I just had to think of it.
Oh yeah, that's the guy. Yes. But yeah, were there any other surprises that you want to talk about for the in the NBA playoffs?
In the playoffs, obviously the Suns. They lost in the finals, but here's your chance to give them their flowers, right? Booker, I think we can pump our brakes on the Kobe talk, but he is the ideal, modern shooting guard. His 3-point shot. It's not the fact that he's a killer 3-point shooter because his numbers are really kind of average, but people respect his shot so much, and he hits so many good contested jumpers that he's a clutch kind of outlet for spacing. He's a great player. He can get a lot of difficult buckets. I think DeAndre Ayton did numbers for his reputation. He made himself. I'm not going to compare him to Hakeem Olajuwon, but in the way that people accepted Hakeem Olajuwon's success was enough to make him not a ridiculous pick over Jordan. I think that Ayton is a person that space himself. He's going to, just as a 7-footer with that kind of athleticism, he's going to be able to provide defensive stability to his teams that Luka will literally never ever be able to do.
Yeah.
And people always forget that there's two sides of basketball. There's offense and defense. And, that's defense is also important. But, he had a great postseason. I think he's got a bright future. Obviously, he got freaking cooked by Giannis, but who wouldn't get cooked by Giannis?
I was about to say, I was like, I think most mortal men would get cooked by Giannis.
But, they've got a lot to build on and move forward from there. Also, McCall Bridges, he is sick. He's going to be good. He's already He's a really good defender already. He's great. He's got the long arms. I think he's 6'7", 6'8", or something like that. So he's the ideal size. And once he gets just enough dribble to be able to pump fake and get to secondary action where he hits up mid-range jumpers, get to the cup, he'll be a really dangerous offensive player. He'll keep the Suns real good, and he's gonna get a ridiculous contract. He's gonna get.
Yeah, He was him. Cam Johnson were the two on the Suns that I really was impressed by. I didn't really have an opinion on them. I just knew that they were, pretty decent,
Shout out to Cam Johnson for sure, though. Yeah, he was also incredible. It feels like every time they subbed him to the game, his first shot, he hit it every time. and he just like set the tone. He was a great floor spacer. He's also like he's pretty tall. He's like taller than you think. I think he might be like 6'9" or 6'10" or something.
Yeah.
So he's not a great defender yet, but he's just got the size where he can kind of give people problems. As far as other teams, I named a bunch of one. Bobby Portis had a great playoffs. He loved some money too. Bobby Shmurda, you love to see him. I once saw him in a Papa Do's in Dallas. He sat at the table right next to us. I didn't say anything to him. I would never interrupt Bobby Portis during a meal. I'm not insane. Other people who had great playoffs, let me see. Obviously, Trae Young. Trae Young was great. I think John Collins was great. He's going to get himself some money this year. Other underwhelming players, I think the Heat had a horrible effort in the playoffs. I think at the end of last year, we were ready to christen Bam Adebayo a star, and he had a kind of a tough performance. The defense is still there, but the offense hasn't really kind of progressed the way we wanted. I think that Luka has been great. This is not shade Luka at all, but I think as a collective, most NBA people are kind of down on Porzingis as being a number two and kind of the construction of the Mavs, and also down at the prospect of Jason Kidd being your head coach. So I don't know what to expect from that. New Orleans is a much more volatile market, so people love to kind of beat the drum of the Zion's ready to leave. But I think that things are not great, probably with Luka in Dallas. So we'll see how that goes. They need to take that next step. They fired their only championship coach in history. They didn't fire him, but you know what I'm saying.
It was time to move on. Yeah.
They're in an interesting place. It's weird that like these teams, and Dallas is not a mid market. I won't even call it that. But it's weird that these teams that are in decent sized markets are getting a great player like Luka, Zion is kind of like a curse. It's like stress.
Yeah. Once
they get eligible for these extensions, it's like all the writings on the wall, all of your business is in the street, and it's just really toxic, and it's tough. That's the part that the labor part that nobody likes to talk about, but that'll be tough for the next CBA.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this playoffs. It is fascinating. Two things that I remember when Porzingis was traded, the outrage, the shock, the fury that came out of New York Knicks fans, and now I'm just like, well, I guess it didn't necessarily.
Knicks won that trade, yeah.
And the other thing is the idea of Trae Young and Luka, who will always be connected as they go about their careers. What do you think would have happened if things had been different? Like if in some alternate universe, in the multiverse here, in a variant multiverse. What do you think would have happened if Luka had, if Luka was with the Hawks and vice versa, Trae was with the Mavs?
I think that they would have had the same trip to the finals. I mean, the conference finals this season. I think the biggest problem with the Mavericks is throughout their history, throughout basically the whole Cuban run, they haven't been able to get any good free agents. They've had a few decent trades to build, the championship team. But for the most part, all their success came from one draft pick, Dirk. Yeah. And now this one draft pick is Luka. But if that was Trae, I don't think they would have been able to build the necessary team to make them good, especially in the West. Yeah. Because Trae, despite being incredible, and we all saw it, but he's a special kind of player. He's not very big, so he's always going to be limited defensively, which means you're going to have a certain type of wing player necessary to be next to him to have a passable defense, right? Yeah. And Mavs have never been able to get those kind of elite players. Like, they're able to find some diamonds in the rough and make them good NBA players, but nothing special. So I think they would have really struggled to build the kind of niche team, the certain type of players that you need to make a good Trae Young team. Where I think Luka is just like a supernova, right? And you see how the random Herders and John Collins and all those dudes ended up being good. If he would have just tossed that mix with Luka, they would have still been sick.
I feel like we could talk an hour just on the dynamics and the context around why Dallas, one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country, in a no-income tax state, in a relatively, you know more about that town than I do, like a relatively affluent city. It's really weird how they haven't been able to attract. That's a very, like I said, we could spend the next hour talking just about that.
Yeah, as you probably have noticed as well, when you talk to people in Texas about the other metropolises in Texas, they have all kinds of takes, and Dallas is certainly part of it. Dallas has a reputation that's probably not great with NBA type dudes, but yeah, like you said, we could go all day about this.
Well, you kind of touched on it when we were talking about the Suns, so let's move on to the finals. You touched on the Suns. I just want to make the point up top, and I made this point earlier, that I don't need Chris Paul to win a championship. Like, I think that, first off, he's not the point guard. There's only one point guard. His name's Irvin Magic Johnson. But if you don't, I think his legacy is cemented. I don't think he needs, it would be nice. Like, my main takeaway from this finals where I liked both these teams, and I would have been happy whichever team won. I'm happy. I like Giannis and Drew more than I like Chris Paul and Monty, but I still really love Monty.
Right.
But I'll just say that if you feel like Chris Paul's career and legacy is hampered by not having a ring, I would call you a fool, because that's insane. And yeah, I really like Monty. I loved him with the Pelicans, or with the Hornets and the Pelicans at the time. He went through an incredible tragedy, and he is one of the most admirable men, not only in the NBA, but I think in all professional sports. So,
yeah, for sure.
What do you feel about them? We'll talk about them, and then we'll get to the Bucks. How do you feel about Chris Paul, and how do you feel about Monty?
I mean, well, Monty personally is just a super class dude. Anything that anybody says about him is nothing but positive. Dealing with losing your wife randomly like that, it's amazing that he was able to kind of turn his life around and still be a healthy person. And, God bless him, because he's a great coach, and he's going to be successful for a long while. But, yeah, Chris Paul, just as a point of reference, my mother worked for the New Orleans Hornets since like the year they got there for quite a few years. So I've been to many Hornets games. And the Chris Paul era was a great time for me because he made us decently relevant. We were one of those teams that lost in the second round of the playoffs every year, which was better than we had ever had. We didn't even have a team.
Those goddamn Spurs, man. I used to hate the Spurs, man.
Yeah, I felt like half the NBA was like, you either get knocked out by the Spurs or you get knocked out by the Lakers. Like, the other side of the Western Conference, the Nuggets were just like, fuck you, Lakers, leave us alone. But yeah, Chris Paul, he'll always hold a place from, holding down New Orleans basketball. But outside of that place, he's a dirty player who's done a lot of shitty stuff. And it's weird that he's able to kind of keep that wholesome, professional, commercial image as well. He's a super respectable guy, and he's, thought out about politics, and he's the union leader for the NBA, and, he's definitely, seems like he's really engaged in that and deeply respected around that. But again, he's a dirty player. He punched several people in the dick, and that's not cool.
In college, not just in the pros, but also in college.
Even at Giannis's meet when he did that dunk at the end of Game 5.
Well, let me ask you, do you think he should stick with the Suns? He already said he wasn't retiring, but do you think he should explore other, he has the player option. I don't know. I can't imagine anyone would turn down $44 million guaranteed, but where do you think he should do? Yeah.
So I just think on pure basketball terms, take out the age, take out the injury. If it's LeBron, Chris Paul, and AD on the same team, they're going to win the championship. So he would leave for that because I know he's desperate for a ring at this point.
Yeah.
The Suns will definitely still be part of it. I think that everybody kind of knows his limits now, so the Suns still need one more guy. It's hard to say, who will opt out of $40 billion because he could probably get a 2-year deal for 80 or at least 70 something, so he can get all NBA money's guaranteed. One more big check before he calls it quits. But anybody will want him, to be honest. If he's the ideal secondary ball handler and he basically turns up the sliders on all your role players and he makes them an offense into themselves. There's no Chris Paul plays. He's just going to take whoever your center is and do pick and roll shit with him. And if you got dudes that can shoot around him, he's going to create offense. And if you do that off the side of a guy like, I don't know, Luka, that would be crazy. If you did it off the LeBron, that would be crazy. There's a lot of situations that we would be, super, super, super successful in. He definitely, you will not be hurting for contract offers for sure.
Yeah.
But like you said about his legacy, like, if he gets a championship, whatever. If he doesn't, I definitely think it hurts him as far as the point guard discussions, because he might feel like he's better than Isaiah and he doesn't have any championships. I know anybody who's alive from that era, they'll punch you for saying that Isaiah Thomas is not great because he's super forgotten. I know he's incredible, but Chris Paul is in that range, and he won't get discussed in that because he was never able to win.
Okay, well, I think that does it for the Suns. Let's move on to the champs. Let's talk about the Bucks. I know you're very excited to talk about this. I'll just say that it's one of the most Hollywood-esque success stories I think we've ever seen in sports, and it really does sound like a Disney Channel original movie storyline, but I'm so impressed by Giannis. I was very happy for him. He seems like a great guy. He seems like a very honest, decent person, and I think that, I'm really happy for Giannis. I'm happy for Drew because I've always been a Drew Holiday fan, even though his offense was terrible, but his defense was impeccable. And I'm happy for the Milwaukee because I think that, Green Bay's 2 hours away. They have the Brewers who are really doing well this season, but I'm really happy for them because 50 years almost on the dot, that's a long, long stretch, so I'm happy for them. But how do you feel about it, man? Just go off, say whatever you need to say about the Bucks, man.
Yeah, no, I actually know randomly a couple of the Bucks fans in real life, and I watched them sweat through some tough teams. So, I was kind of happy to see them win. And Giannis is really the perfect success story that the NBA needed. He's such a likable guy. He's so committed to hard work and loyalty and all that, stuff that's super marketable for T-shirts. And just the fact that his story of, Black African immigrant from Europe finds out about basketball as a teenager, and it takes him to this level of stardom. That is exactly the story that the NBA wants to sell to everybody because they're selling basketball, and it doesn't get much better than that, like you said. But as far as his play, the whole hoopers versus basketball players, and bag Twitter versus whatever, and the hard Giannis debate. It's really ridiculous. I think people are kind of losing, sight of what Giannis is doing. He's 6'10", 6'11", 240 something pounds. The other dudes in the NBA that are 6'11", 240 something pounds are purely centers. It's Jared Allen and fives, dudes that are big and stuffy. They don't Euro step anybody. They don't go between them. Giannis is so flexible. He's so explosive.
And let us not neglect the fact that I thought he was done for the year. Everybody thought he was done with the year when his knee
bent the wrong way.
Come on. I said earlier on the other part that I'm telling y'all right now, if my knee bent like that, I'm not getting off the couch for a year. That's it. I'm done. I'm just stationary. I'm Jabba the Hutt, man. I'm just chilling all the time.
Did he miss 2 games? Was that it?
I think so. Game? And then he came into the finals and not destroyed, but just fucking wrecked shop, dude. Sorry to cut you off again. I just wanted to make that point.
If you played a 6-game series and in 3 of those games you went 40, 40, and 50, you can say he fucking wrecked. He was killing. There was nothing the Suns could do with him. And I think that the fact that he has gotten kind of consistently at this point that turnaround one-legged jumper in the lane, and he's got he's got a hook, a little hook, he's got a turnaround jumper, and he's got the one-legged jumper plus his go-go gadget arms and dunk. And that's more than enough moves because he's so athletic and fast and long that he's basically unstoppable in the paint. And again, I'm sorry to take it back 10 conversations ago, but that's the kind of shit that I hope the Pelicans are watching because Zion is similar to that he can just basically get to the paint whenever he wants. But having a player like that is unbelievable. And the clutchest part of all, him hitting his free throws in the last game
that was incredible.
Truly unbelievable. Because I was thinking that he had gotten used to the counting in the road arenas, and it looked like he was doing a little bit better. And he went home, and they gave him some quiet, and he was, oh my goodness, he was ready to get this over with.
Yeah.
I could not be more impressed with him. Could not be more impressed with him. Could not be more impressed with Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Again, not to go back to the Pelicans, but he's a very similar player to Brandon Ingram. He hit tough shots. I feel like a lot of players in today's NBA, a lot of the players who you hear get compared to Kobe. You get compared to Kobe because Kobe's like most incredible skill was hitting contested jumpers. But when your talent is hitting contested jumpers, that means you have to shoot a lot of contested jumpers. So, it gets a little sketchy at times when it's not falling. And Chris Middleton had some very sketchy games, but on home games, he was just really just when you needed it the most. Like, if we don't find somebody to get buckets, this is it, we're going to lose. He would always turn up with just in your face, KD looking, I don't care that you're 1 inch away from me, I'm drilling it over your head. He took advantage of all of those short defenders. You couldn't send Chris Paul, Campaign, none of those dudes to go guard him. He's pulling up right over him.
Yeah, it's incredible. I don't think it's lost on especially fans of the Pelicans and just people who follow the team that we need to be paying a lot of attention to what Milwaukee did, because this is pretty much the ideal pathway. Like, they've laid the path. I gotta say, I guess it's happy for Mike Budenholzer. I don't know if you saw that photo online of like a fan at the championship celebration, like holding up the fire Coach Bud. I was like, damn, but that's fucking hilarious.
I feel him, yeah.
Yeah, I sent it to some friends who don't follow the NBA, and I had to explain the joke a little bit to them, and I told them, I was like, the cherry on top is that if they're not going to, but like if they had fired him like 2 weeks afterward, there'd only be like some people upset with it. Like, there wouldn't have been like, oh, how could you? It would have been like, yeah, it sucks, but yeah. But it was
some very head-scratching decisions throughout his Bucks tenure. He's a very, what do you say, dogmatic. Like, yeah. He has a very strict way of doing things. And, I mean, it gave him, the best record in the regular season 2 years in a row, and then the championships, and we think that he's the dumbest motherfucker in the world. So, like, I don't know. Maybe we need to shut the fuck up. I don't know.
Maybe. It was a really great finals. I enjoyed every minute of it. I'm sad that basketball is gone, but we have the off season, and we have next season to look forward to.
And
yes,
I'll set you up for this one. And we have the last basketball before the season starts. We got the Olympics.
Well, we're gonna get to that, but let's talk about the off season and going forward. But first, let's have the barbershop talk real quick. Let's talk about top five. So I think that we all agree on at least the top three in varying degrees, varying order. But what would you say your top five is now, right now?
Okay, so yeah, the order, we're still discussing the order. I don't know that yet. But as far as the five dudes, it's LeBron, it's KD, it's Giannis, it's Steph, and the fifth spot is tough. I think if you go health, everybody's healthy, all situations, I would put Kawhi. But I think that James Harden is also, incredible and puts up ridiculous kind of numbers. And I also think Embiid is right there, and the MVP is right there. But I'm going to give it to Kawhi. He's such an impact player on defense. He's, scary, efficient, the Terminator on offense. Mm-hmm. He's just fighting a knee injury, but other than that, he's still a very, very impactful player.
Yeah.
That's five, right?
Yeah, that's five. I'm not trying to sound controversial. I swear I'm not the hot take guy. I'm not particularly, that's not my jam. But my top five is, I actually have KD right now over LeBron. And then I have Giannis. And then I have James Harden. I was really impressed by what when he joined the Nets. I was really impressed that he was like not doing a bunch of the bullshit he was doing in Houston. And honestly, my fifth, as he's healthy, I think AD. I think AD is still up there. I think AD is amazing. And I think that unfortunately his health has, held him back, but I think he's still...
Especially after there's been some AD Giannis debate to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think you saw the biggest difference between them this playoffs. Giannis's knee was bent the other way, and he went out there and gave the performance of his life in the finals. And, Anthony Davis was legitimately injured. I never want to make light of the injuries that he has, but the injuries he has always sidelines him. It's not, I'm playing through it. It's not, he's out. And availability is part of your ability, man, and he just doesn't have that. And I also, people have talked about this a lot, but I really got to keep this in mind when I evaluate Anthony Davis, is that he was shooting out of his mind in the bubble. Like, he's never been that good of a 2-point shooter, but when he was hitting mid-range jumpers like that, he was completely unguardable. When he went back to normal this season, him not being willing to play center is weird at this point. It's weird. Every type of lineup that the Lakers had, that the Pelicans would have when he was the 5, they were excellent. He's the perfect small ball 5 because he's not small and he still has all the skill, but he just won't do it. And they have to bring in whack-ass players like fucking Andre Drummond because he don't want to play center. It's way past time for this Anthony Davis. But at the same time, he always gets hurt, so I kind of understand why he doesn't want to do it, but that's going to always hold him back. I think that that took him out of the top 5 talk.
Yeah, I think that that's all fair, and I don't mean to poo-poo, your Steph, your Kawhi, or your Embiid. I think that all top 10 players, but that's just my particular top 5.
For sure.
But before we get to the Olympics, let's talk about this offseason and next season. I think it's fair to say that I haven't looked at Vegas Insiders or any of the Vegas websites, but like the Nets are definitely, I would say, the betting favorites. Do you think that, as it stands, we don't know what's going to happen with some of these offseason trades and offseason moves, but like, do you think they're going to just run away with it this coming season?
I think what is today is the 24th.
Yeah.
This is when you get caught in a instant freezing cold take, because you all know how active trades are on draft night, and that's next week. So I don't want to make any, huge statements on who's going to be good and who's going to be not. I do think, obviously, the Nets are going to be one of the favorites, just, from all 3 guys being healthy. Also, if they keep Blake Griffin, he was incredible. The guys that they had as role players really, really stepped up. But I think that, like I said kind of earlier, so many teams are one decent trade away from becoming elite that it's kind of hard to really, at this point, be like, oh, yeah, I think that this team is going to be good. I think that, somebody like a Bradley Beal might get traded. I think the Warriors are looking to make a big move. I think the Blazers are looking to make a big move. I think the Knicks are looking to make a big move. I think the Pelicans are looking to make a big move. I think the Timberwolves are, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot to kind of shake up. So revisit this in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But I do think that the Lakers and the Nets and obviously the Bucks will consider themselves probably like the 3, favorites going into it before anybody's made any trades.
Yeah, that's all fair. I think that's very astute. I'm very curious to see what the Nets do. I think they're going to win it all. Not to be, your conventional safe pick here, but I think it is, because I just don't, as it stands, I don't see anybody. I don't see anybody, because like just having Harden and KD alone, I'm just like, God damn, that's so incredible. But we'll see.
But
I don't know.
People have always said, like, you can't have a team that's, worse than 10th in defense win the championship. And they were like, something like 16th, 17th in defense, and they didn't make it out of the second round.
But if KD has a smaller foot, they're in the finals.
For sure. But I think that, White Dante might be playing next time. Who knows what kind of team that they might be facing, Philly with Dame on it at this point. They can't guard anybody. Like, they really can't. And they kind of got off easy and who they had to face, because, Giannis, I don't know, something about looking at KD made him want to play like KD, so he was shooting dumbass threes. But I think that teams will exploit that really, really badly. And when especially in the finals, if you're facing a LeBron team and you can't guard the rim, LeBron is going to be at the rim every single time. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think that they definitely have a huge problem. Now, I'm going to say huge problems to fix, but a lot of conventional basketball wisdom they are breaking, and I would like to see if they're able to break that with just sheer offensive talent.
Well, we may not agree on everything that we've just discussed, but I think both of us can agree White Dante is one of the greatest nicknames ever. Shout out to Bomani Jones.
Right, yeah, like, it's just his name, but, like, it's the fact that it's spelled with the O.
Yeah.
Like, how did he get that name?
I can't wait till after he retires and he releases his like autobiography. It's going to be definitely a necessary read. But let's move on. It was a great NBA talk. I love talking the NBA with you because you're one of the smartest dudes I know, not just in NBA matters, but just in life. But let's move on to the Olympics, man. Do you want to talk about the General Olympics first, like general, or do you want?
Since we're still basketball, let's just get basketball over with and do that part first. So, we talked about it earlier. You know, there's been no American Defensive Player of the Year since 2016. You know, there's all these. The MVP is not American this year. The MVP hasn't been American in the last 3 years. And I saw a tweet today that I've been thinking about for a long time, but I never really had the energy to like put together the roster.
Yeah.
But if Yugoslavia was still one country, do you know who would be on their team?
Well,
because I have the roster now. I don't know if you also saw the tweet.
No, I did not see the tweet, so let's not waste any time. How about you just lay it out for me?
All right, so it would be Luka Doncic,
yes,
the Hawks Bogdanovic, the Jazz Bogdanovic, Vucevic, Jokic, Dragic, Nurkic. They would have Zubac. They would have Boban. It would be ridiculous. They would have Saric from the Suns. They would have Mario Hezonja. That's an elite team. They would legitimately be co-favorites. I mean, I think the USA would probably be favorite, but they would feel very confident in their chances at a gold medal. And I think that just speaks to how good international basketball has gotten. It's going to be fun to watch. I think that, Spain's always got a strong program. Italy, it should be pretty good. Australia's got a strong team. Nigeria, shout out to Mike Brown, former Cavs coach and Lakers coach. He is coaching Nigeria currently. They beat the USA in the warm-up game. I think that they might have an outside sniff at a medal. It should be really, really fun to watch. I think the USA is the favorite, and I think that, people are going to be worked up by those losses in the exhibitions. I still think that they should be fine. They should 100% get a medal. I think that they might, have to work for a gold. They might lose a game in this run-up. I don't expect just an undefeated gold medal type deal. It's going to be really, really fun to watch. I don't know. I could be telling all of y'all wrong information, but there was the under-18 championships or the under-21 championships for France, and I saw them playing against the United States earlier, and they have a dude for France named Victor Wembanyama. Might have mispronounced that. My apologies. He's going to be the number one pick in 2023. He's unbelievable. He's like KD, but even taller. Oh. And I don't know if he's going to play for France's men's team. I know he played for the under-21 team. He is sick. Google him. They call him Wemby. That's probably easier, but Victor Wembanyama. Man, they got all kinds of ridiculous talent out there. It's going to be nuts. So that's the men's. The women also lost their tune-up game. I think that they're a much heavier favorite for the gold than the men are. But, Australia is always strong in women's basketball. Canada's got a decent team. I think Spain's got a decent team. So it'll also be fun to watch. The women's team is more fun because they dominate a little bit more, and it's fun to watch them on, full go. But the men's will be fun too, but I think the women dominate to a higher degree just based on the standards of women's basketball right now.
My gosh, I pulled up this gentleman, Victor Wembanyama. Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to work on that one as well.
Wemby, they call it Wemby.
Yeah, that is... I don't want to say anything that would be disrespectful, but that looks like... That looks very unusual body build, but that is fascinating.
He played against the guy Chet Holmgren, who's supposed to be the number one pick. This year? I mean, not this year, next year. And he outclassed him. The USA won that game, but he was cooking him. It was really ugly.
If you would have sent this man in a time machine to 1984, they would be like, "That's an alien." Anyway, I really agree that I think it's a safe bet if you were a betting man, I think that it is a safe bet to put the money on Team USA to win a gold. But again, as I said, I believe I texted you this before we even lost those two exhibition games that I think that this team has silver medal written all over it. I could be wrong, could be just being a Debbie Downer and being very overly cynical, but I I wouldn't be surprised because, like, this isn't as good a team as we possibly could, and the chemistry isn't necessarily there yet. We are recording this at 7:58 on July 24th. They play France tomorrow at like 7 a.m. or 6:30 a.m. One of those. I'll be up to watch it. I've been getting up super early this past week to watch various events, which we'll talk about. But you know what? If they do win it all, look, congratulations. I always love watching Team USA win anything, so I'm really excited to see them win a gold. But I would not be surprised if they win a silver. I don't think it's a bronze situation, an 0-4 situation, but I do think that they could. I just think it would take a lot for them it would take a lot of shenanigans for them to fuck it all up.
The refereeing is really different, and you see them kind of struggling with that, and they have a lot of guys who are used to getting a certain kind of call. And I think one of the things that the Team USA is lacking as part of team construction is they don't feel like they have, and I could be wrong, I'm not looking at the roster right now, but, I feel like they're lacking that real kind of point guard. And, like, in years past, LeBron would play, or Chris Paul would be there, and they can be that all-encompassing, like, court general, right? But,
Drew is on the way with
but Drew is not. I don't want. He's a good lead ball handler, but he's not the point guard.
Yeah,
I think in international play he'll be fine. I think it'll be fine, and that'll be enough. I don't think he's gonna start though, is he?
I don't know. It might not. Definitely, probably not right away because they're coming off a really intense finals. But
him and what I would assume.
I think Middleton
would be the backcourt though, and Booker. I know that they're going, but the starting backcourt. I imagine Dame is definitely going to be the starting point guard, but he's not. He's more of a scorer than he is a distributor. Then you got somebody like Beal. Well, Beal's left because he got COVID, but Booker is a very similar player. Middleton's a very similar player. So I would imagine probably you'll have Drew in that spot to be a natural, point guard because they were lacking that, and you don't want the ball in Draymond's hands because even though Draymond is a natural distributor, he's a terrible offensive player. He's not looking to score. So that was kind of a difficult situation. Obviously, he's got the rapport with KD, who you can get him the ball, and he's always going to get the bucket. And that works. Like, we have KD, and that's our biggest trump card over everybody else. But, those teams have so much cohesiveness, and the defense is different in international basketball. So I think they'll do a decent job of keeping, the team from getting easy looks.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Like you said, they tip off tomorrow morning. I'll definitely be up. But let's move on to talk about the larger Olympics, man. You were very interested in discussing this. We can talk about USA Women's at some point, but where's your head at with the Olympics right now?
Okay, well, the thing I was most excited about, and I'm not going to go into the controversy of Sha'Carri Richardson, but it was the women's 100, right? Okay. And it wasn't just because of Sha'Carri and being from LSU, and I'm in Dallas, and people are excited about the fact that she's from Dallas. She's not going to be there. That's fine, because there was going to be a top 4 in that race, so take her out. There's still Dina Asher-Smith. She's British, right? Mm-hmm. There's Blessings Okagbare, right? And then there's Shelly Ann Fraser-Price. They're all have won. They've all beat each other before. Who knows? I think that the world record might be at play, depending on the win. I don't know. The world record has stood for a long time. I think it's still FloJo from like the 80s or something. So it could be just the fact that could possibly come down. You have 4 elite competitors. You have no idea who's going to win. That's going to be super duper exciting to watch.
Are there any events outside of the basketball on the track that you're also excited about?
Of course. Simone Biles will be there, so I will be watching Simone Biles. She has 5 Olympic medals with 4 golds, 1 bronze. I want to see if she's going to get a clean sweep, all golds this time, and cement herself as one of the greatest all-time Olympians. The women's soccer team, they started off with a loss. I think that's going to be interesting to see if they can, get to the goal with teams that are clearly at their level. What else? Other sports that I just like to monitor. I don't know if people know that 3-on-3 basketball is making its Olympics debut. Yeah. It's very, very, very fun to watch. It's not like the 3-on-3 basketball you probably played at the park, nor is it like, regular 5-on-5 basketball. And every Olympics, it just trips me out that America has never gotten into handball. It is an action-packed game to watch. Norway is like super good at it. They'll probably win the gold medal. But if you're looking for just like stuff to watch, handball is super duper exciting.
Yeah, I was one of those hardcore fans, or maybe not hardcore fans. I'm not trying to blow smoke on my own ass here, but I was one of those like dedicated fans that like got up at 3:00 on this past Wednesday to see the USA women's lose to Sweden, which not surprising. I think anyone who follows women's international play would not be surprised be surprised by Sweden's performance, but I think we all were disappointed in USA women's, but they did bounce back against New Zealand.
Took it out on them.
Yeah, and we play Australia on Tuesday.
Sam Kerr, shout out Sam Kerr, Chelsea's own. I mean, I don't want Australia to win, but she's a very good player, and she's going to be a huge danger to light up the U.S.
Yeah, I was very impressed with how they played today, but again, it was against, not a great team, but an okay team. I'm very excited. I really want them to win, and I just hope, whatever the way the tournament shakes out, I hope we avoid Sweden at least until one of the semifinals or the finals, because they are legit a great team. Shout out to Kosovari Asllani, one of my favorite international players.
Also, don't sleep on Brazil, and this is going to be Marta's last run, and she's one of the greatest players of all time.
Dude,
regardless of gender.
It was so wild. Like, I'm so happy for him. Like, I don't want to misrepresent myself and say that I'm like an expert on women's international soccer, but seeing Marta and Christine Sinclair with Canada still going at it is so awesome to me. Like, they've been in multiple World Cups and multiple Olympics.
Carly Lloyd she's getting up there too.
She's 36. She's 30. Oh no, I'm sorry. She's 39. Rapinoe is 36. My bad. I get the ages mixed up. But yeah, and Carly Lloyd started this morning against New Zealand, and she did pretty well. And I'm really, really excited. I like to keep tabs on table tennis because I love playing ping pong. So like I really get that. Yeah, I remember we played at LSU's Rexa a few times. That was fun times, man.
I've gotten much better since then, but
I believe you. I have not. I also am really excited about. I didn't get to watch. First off, I didn't get to watch our women's play 3-on-3 this morning because it was on right at the same time USA women's was playing New Zealand in soccer. But I also am really excited about softball and baseball coming back because I think this is the first year in a while that they've come back. It's really weird. I was really thinking about the sports, and I realized outside of table tennis, which I don't think we have any like big American players, a lot of the individual performances I don't really follow, but I do follow like a few of our bigger team sports. So it's really weird. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's because I'm fans. There's not a lot of individual sports.
So for me, I'm sorry to cut you off, but like for me, when it comes to the Olympics, there's some stuff that I'll always be into just because it's the Olympics. Like I will watch all of men's track, every probably race up to the 800 or the 1,000, whatever. Yeah. Like all of the sprints, I'm very fascinated in. I always want to know who's the fastest man in the world. This will be the first non-Usain Olympics in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see who comes out on top of that. So, yeah, track is huge for me. I do enjoy that a lot. I'm trying to think of other sports. I do like to watch fencing. Like, that's something that I'm only into because of the Olympics. But wrestling, I keep an eye on, not Greco-Roman or any other ones, but just the good old wrestling.
Yeah.
Like the weightlifting and kind of shit. Like, I'll give that a glance. I'll keep up to win that because I really just think it's fascinating. Anyone who kind of knows me knows I have this really weird thing about demographics. I'm trying to keep a kind of general running list of everything and every culture in my head. And it's fun to see like the kind of countries who excel at particular sports, right? Like wrestling, it's been in the Olympics forever. Iran is a powerhouse. They've always been incredible at wrestling.
I did not know that.
And like, yes, like they're one of the all-time gold medalist countries in wrestling, and they expect to leave with a medal in lots of wrestling events every year, right? And it's just kind of interesting to know that about, Iranian people, right? Or like the fact that, Dutch people are good at swimming or whatever, right? Like, but there is a lot of those, like, that Kenyans are incredible distance runners and stuff like that. I like to just kind of keep a general eye on the medal count and what those medals are to kind of get an idea of what like life in those countries is like, even though it doesn't represent life in those countries at all. But it's fun for me.
It is going to be challenging with the 14. Like you and I are both in the Central Time Zone. It's a 14-hour time difference between.
I'm not watching them live. I'm not even trying.
Yeah. Again, I'll get up early. Like again, yeah. I think it's on Tuesday. I believe that USA Women's plays Australia again at 3:30 in the morning. I'm probably going to get up to watch that again because
You real.
I was talking to someone about this last night. They were like, because I was wearing an Austin FC hat. Shout out to the Verde, man. And even though they didn't really do well against Sounders over the weekend, but that's a whole other thing.
Who's our biggest rival?
We don't have one yet. It's our first year. We'll see.
You gotta hate on FC Dallas and the Dynamo, right?
Yeah, I was like, I knew the Dynamo, but I did not know about FC Dallas, and apparently they are terrible. But we'll see how they go. But I was going to say was I was talking to someone last night about soccer, and it really comes down to the reason I got into soccer, along with being a friend of yours, and, you always give me some, scraps of soccer material when we would talk about sports back in the day. But also it was the Men's World Cup 2010 that I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. But then watching the 2011 Women's World Cup, that incredible journey that the women went through in the matches with France, Brazil, and then losing to Japan in the final with PKs, and I'm just like, that is what really got me into it. So I really chalk it up to the U.S. women's I'd say the overwhelming main reason that I really discovered a passion and a love for soccer. So I am a very dedicated fan of theirs. I love their players, and I love how not only talented they are, but outspoken and passionate about off the pitch things. So I'm very excited to see. Again, if they don't win it all, I won't be upset because I think that they're legit great, and the World Cup's in 2023.
I wouldn't be upset because that would speak so highly for the future of women's football.
Absolutely.
It's the fact that we dominated for a long time. We have most of the gold medals and most of the World Cups. Like, that is cool for sure. Like, if you root for American sports teams, but to have the world be more competitive and we still dominate, that'll mean a lot more. And, having women being involved in sports is always a good thing. So to see it, stepping up to this level where there's, not the same amount of, walk-through games where, this team is about to get smoked. Everybody's competitive. That's awesome.
Yeah, and tomorrow, for the record, USA plays Jamaica. I believe it's the quarterfinals of the CONCACAF Gold Cup. Just as an aside, World Cup qualifiers for U.S. men come this fall, man. What are you feeling? What do you think?
I mean, the men are in a good place, honestly, in a pretty decent place that they've been in a long time. I've really completely given up on the U.S. men's national team as an institution. I don't so much root for them. I'd like to see them win, but it's whatever. But I used to, and in those times, we were always praying that we would field a team in a World Cup that wasn't full of dudes that played for the Dynamo and the Crew and the Earthquakes. God bless them. You watch MLS soccer, you are a true fan. You live in the city with your team. You have a different connection. Me, I discovered football from the 2006 World Cup. That took me straight from rooting for the Ivory Coast to rooting for Team USA, rooting for Didier Drogba, rooting for Chelsea. And then I was watching the EPL, watching a very high level. I cannot watch MLS soccer.
It is
not good enough.
It is quite like watching the Euros this year. I was just like,
international is not club, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you had Spain play against Barcelona, Spain would get smoked. And it's not a good example. Barcelona's kind of down right now, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So we finally are at a place where the U.S. men's team is putting out mostly European players, and mostly European players from decent teams. So I think as far as our place within CONCACAF, North America, Mexico's kind of down. This is a chance for us to really step up and truly be the team here. I think Canada's got something percolating, but nothing that should really
I always have to be very careful when I talk about Mexican soccer because I'm like, God, I hate Mexico. And I'm like, be careful how you say that and where you say that because that sounds bad.
That's the only time when a red cap just appears on my head when I start talking about
L3. The men's, the tries, man. I hate them so much.
I do not like them.
I hate them so much.
The problem is, I don't know what it. American soccer players they play a very distinctly styleless style.
Yeah,
like American players are known for having nonstop not charisma. Like, what am I looking for? Lung capacity. They're runners. They're athletes. but you know they don't have that true footballing tradition where I know I need to flop. I know I need to lay on the ground. So when you watch them play against them, there's always it's just like, oh, the time wasting, oh, the laying on the ground, oh, the talking to the ref. And every time they're playing the United States, unless they're playing literally in Kansas City or Ohio, it's a road game, right? Because the Mexican Americans just care more about soccer than the American fans. So it's always a super loud stadium and it's very stressful. But this is a chance to, you know, put some distance between them. I think the American team is ranked somewhere in like the high teens, maybe 10 in the world. And that's probably about right. You know, if Christian Pulisic has a good tournament, if Weston McKennie has a good tournament, if DK, the striker, they got a lot of other guys. Tim Weah is also a special player. My man's for Barcelona, Serginho Dest, Conrad de la Fuente. They got the dude for
Giorena as well.
Giorena, he's sick. Like, yeah, so there's so many, and there's all the other like journeyman dudes who I couldn't think of off the top of my head also play for European teams, just not as big ones. So, you know, we should have the talent, the coaching until the international level. Soccer kind of is what it is, but they should be okay.
Yeah,
they should be okay.
I'll say,
but I'll never be optimistic about it.
Well, I'll just say a few things, and then we can move on to the American football. One thing is, what I was saying about the Euros is like watching those high-level talent in the Euros and then watching, you know, Austin FC, which, you know, it's our first year, but just watching MLS, it's like, wow, there is just a remarkable drop. But, you know,
it's like watching NFL and then D2, basically.
And so the second thing is, you think I'm dedicated when watching MLS. Listen, friend, this past year, especially during when the pandemic kind of chilled out, but I watched some of the Women's Super League in Europe. I was watching Arsenal play, and that was fun. That's when I knew
Chelsea was incredible.
Yeah.
I watched, it's tough.
And then lastly, I'll say is, my friend Ben, who you met at my birthday last year, the last fun thing we did before the world went to hell, Ben and I are like 2026 World Cup. It's in the North America and in Mexico as well. And then 2028 Olympics is in LA, and I'm like, we need to prepare for those. Those are that is where things are lining up to where the U.S. men's can make some noise. And I'm really, maybe foolishly, maybe naively, but I am really getting invested in, like, those are our golden opportunities to develop and conquer and really show out for 2026 World Cup and 2028 Olympics. So we'll see.
2026 World Cup, that should be crazy.
Yeah.
But if it's gonna, like, what are the venues? Is it gonna be like Mexico and Canada?
Yeah. A bunch of NFL stadiums in the United
USA
States.
Too.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's a stadium in Edmonton, and I believe there's a stadium in Toronto. Don't check me on that. And of course, Mexico. Azteca, and I believe another stadium I can't, but mostly NFL stadiums in the United States. Anyway, I think that does it for
the Superdome didn't get one. That would have been
No, it's not. It's unfortunately, but
did Jerry World get one?
Yes, Arlington, really? Texas. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that does it for the international talk. Let's move on real quick to domestic American football, which very interesting to learn. I learned very recently that American football is really big in Japan. This is an aside. Like, they have a collegiate league in the in Japan, but then it got me to learn that there is actually international American play. We have a Team USA American football. I cannot remember all the league information and stuff like that, but apparently there is international play. Obviously, it's not nearly as talented as the NFL, and obviously it's kind of like a niche thing across the world, but I was very happy to learn that. We can talk about that later off the pod, but it was very fascinating.
No, but I have seen that before. I remember there was some game where it was like USA versus some other country. It was like a close game. I was like, what the hell is this?
I need to look into it more, but I'm incredibly fascinated why Japan would fall in love with American football. I don't know if there's some post-World War II American lasting
stuff.
Yeah, stuff. I mean, that's why they love baseball so much, but
And they're probably the next best at it.
Yeah, they are. And I would probably the Caribbean and Central American countries.
Yeah, I was about to say they might have more talent,
yeah.
but their league is definitely the next best league.
Definitely. And then Korea as well. So there's also that. But it was very fascinating. But let's move on to the SEC. We are both LSU fans. Yes. Go Tigers. And I am also a Notre Dame fan, which may come down, may be a factor in all this conference reshuffling. But the main story we're talking about is, I don't think anything official has been announced, but, there is apparently, it's being reported that the deal is done, that the University of Texas Longhorns and the University of Oklahoma Sooners are joining the SEC. So how do you feel about it? Are you indifferent? Are you excited about it? Are you opposed to it? What do you think, man?
First of all, I'm pro. I think that is great. I think that they are good programs, and it'll be good to kind of consolidate the good programs regionally. I think it'll be good to have, people in Texas grow up watching SEC football, because that's where a lot of the talent comes from, and I think that that'll help talent go to some of the other SEC schools. Mac Brown, very famously back in the day, did not want any of the schools in Texas, had him sign like a little secret petition to never play LSU because we were already poaching on their talent, and we couldn't show up on any extra on TV. Obviously, A&M went and broke that. But I think as an LSU fan, and as any SEC fan, they love to say it just means more, and it kind of does. Because the first thing I could think of was only through the LSU lens, and holy shit, does that mean that we can get Alabama and Auburn out of the SEC West? I'm so excited. Well, that's really my first and only thought. I think that would be great. But I don't want to poo-poo Oklahoma football. I think that they would definitely be an immediate contender in the SEC West. And would probably win it a few years. It's no guarantee that, LSU or one of the Mississippi schools or something like that are going to just up and dominate. So I just think it would be fun. I think Texas is a while from being back, but I will never deny that they are truly a sleeping giant program. You live in Austin. It's an incredible city. It has a lot to offer to recruits. The campus is beautiful. They have some tradition. A lot of that tradition is racism, but other than that, they have some football tradition. There's no reason why they shouldn't be one of the best schools in the country. They care about football so fucking much. And so I don't think that they'll be terrible forever. I think it'll probably be a couple of seasons before they are able to recruit SEC level defenses. Because Oklahoma, I think it'll be tough for them that first year when they get to the SEC. If they still got a regular Oklahoma defense, they might be getting lit the fuck up. But it's great. The Big 12, it was a dumb conference anyway. It was basically held together by those two schools. It was basically the Texas Plus Conference. It has me excited. It'll help with basketball a lot too, because they're both decent at that as well. Yeah. And the SEC is a surprisingly good basketball conference as well. I think it's all good. I mean, as far as college sports goes, I think that'll help them get money, because the SEC will definitely be the strongest conference now, right? I think that would be unquestionable. I think it's a lot of good stuff all around.
I think that it is, money-wise, it makes sense. I don't care. I've heard a lot of, especially talking heads in sports media, be like, oh, what happened? I'm specifically, I watched a PTI thing on it, and Wilbon and Kornheiser were just like, oh, about it, being old fuddy-duddies and shit like that.
Which I love them, but they're so old now. They hate everything.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I relish the possibility that watching LSU, beginning of our championship season, beat Texas was delicious. I think we both agreed on that.
Sure.
But playing them regularly would be awesome, especially if I continue to stay in Austin. That would be dope. It would mean that LSU would be coming here more often. But what I would say is that where we disagreed, we talked about this a little bit off pod, I don't want to lose that Alabama game, LSU. Even though the past few years has been, we had that one great year, and then we lost 8 years straight, we were terrible against Alabama. But I don't want to lose that game. I'm totally for this. I'm totally for this. I think that I don't care. I just don't care about it's always been this way. I was like, fuck it. I don't know if you've noticed. Not you specifically, but college football, college athletics are going through a major overhaul just in so many aspects that, fuck it. Let's just do it. Let's just fucking go crazy. I did want to mention Notre Dame. They have historically been an independent, except their football team is independent, but everybody else is ACC. I really don't want them to join a conference, but it may come out that way. We might have a huge shift because Big 12 is going to dissolve. I think we all agree that, and then they're going to have to go somewhere, and it'd be very interesting. And I just want to say, my main takeaway from all this is I am laughing so hard at Texas A&M. These people are so fucking mad about it, and it is fucking hilarious. The memes have been great.
I can't wait for them to have to play Texas again. That's what I want the most. That is, for people who don't live in Texas, that is an extremely serious rivalry. Like, for real. And Texas A&M is a very, very insular culture. It's a small conversation right outside of Houston. It's not a religious school, but it has a very religious fervor. And the people who go there are really weird. It's a really weird fan base. And they're very insecure because they've never been the strongest team in Texas, and they feel like the people in UT are arrogant, hoity-toity, and they are. So I definitely feel for them in that. But it's gonna. The toxicity in the SEC was already ridiculous. They got people killing trees and shit over
roll damn tide.
And then you gotta add probably top 5 intense rivalries in all of college football into the conference. It's going to be nuts. Really, too, because, you still have Texas OU and Texas A&M. Plus the burgeoning rivalry between, I think, Texas and LSU, they want to be rivals. Yeah. The A&M got to it first, and you can feel it, like, these two states touch each other. The whole reason Oklahoma-Texas is a rivalry is based on proximity. Yeah. And LSU has been so good for a decent amount of time now, but there's really nothing there yet. And I think that's going to start to build too. And I think new rivalries are fun.
Yeah. And, not to my homerism to come out now, but it is all Texas blows Louisiana as far as GDP in so many aspects out the water. But it is nice when our little middle of the pack state upsets, the Republic of Texas.
We're at the bottom. Yeah. If you were talking to just really tangent, but if you're talking to somebody who's not from America about this part of America, I basically just describe it as all right, so there's Texas, and then above that there's Native American Texas, and then next to that there's bilingual French Texas, and then there's half-empty other Native American Texas in New Mexico. Everything around here is just suburbs of Texas.
Yeah, it's really weird. The Gulf Coast, there's Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and then there's Florida. So it's these 3 states that are just the buffer between Texas and Florida, and you can get a lot of that is inseminated in those 3 states. But I'm really excited.
And it's just weird because that part of it, just the central Louisiana down to New Orleans, is that part that you only find in Louisiana. Yeah. Why are there these French-speaking people? But then, all the rest of it is the same shit.
Yeah, it's very exciting. We don't have time to talk about the NIL and some of the Supreme Court cases, but maybe one day we'll talk about it. We got a couple of things to do before we wrap up. This, again, will be part 2. It's coming out Thursday. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers first, and we'll wrap it up with our beloved Saints. Dude, if he retires, holy shit. Just off top, you saw the Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams little powwow.
Jordan tweets?
Yeah, Jordan Pippen tweets. What do you think about all this, man? Do you think he's going to go
I don't know
what
that's supposed to be. It's the last dance. That's what I took it as. He might give it one last season, or he gave it one last season, and he's out of here. I don't know. I feel like I was supposed to take Last Dance away from that. Yeah. And that definitely hints towards retiring. I don't know. It's a weird situation. I don't understand. I'll never understand why they never got this man another receiver, why they never made a big deal about getting another receiver.